Ioan Gruffudd unstretches the past. Fantastic Four memories more. Ioan Gruffudd reflects on his journey with the Fantastic Four. Ioan Gruffudd reflects on his experience with the Fantastic Four. By Derek Lawrence, a freelance writer specializing in film and television. The original Reed Richards fondly recalls the beginnings of a franchise alongside his late co-star, Julian McMahon. Photo illustration, Vulture. Photo. Everett Collection. There's an unmistakable joy in Ioan Gruffudd's voice as he reminisces about his role as the first Mr. Fantastic on the big screen. This vibrant energy was precisely what he infused into his portrayal of the brilliant scientist Reed Richards in the 2005 film Fantastic Four. In contrast, more recent adaptations of this beloved Marvel character, such as Pedro Pascal in the newly released The Fantastic Four First Steps, seem to carry a heavier burden. However, Gruffudd and his fellow cast members embraced a sense of lightheartedness and fun. Even though critics were not entirely convinced by the film at the time, Gruffudd takes immense pride in having been part of the launch of such an iconic franchise. In the early 2000s, the Welsh actor began to make his mark in Hollywood, appearing in films like 102 Dalmatians, Black Hawk Down, and King Arthur. His ascent coincided with the long-awaited approval. Directed by Tim Story, known for Barbershop, Fantastic Four follows Reed, Sue Storm, played by Jessica Alba, Johnny Storm, Chris Evans, Ben Grimm, Michael Chiklis, and Victor Von Doom, Julian McMahon, as they embark on a space mission for research. However, a cosmic storm alters their lives forever, granting them superpowers. Reed gains the ability to stretch his body like rubber, which allows him to save people from perilous situations and even impress women with his dance moves. Throughout two films, Reed confronts Victor, the elegant and vengeful CEO of Von Doom Industries. Their rivalry intensifies as Victor transforms into a being of organic metal that generates electricity, ultimately adopting the villainous persona of Dr. Doom. Tragically, McMahon passed away earlier this month at the age of 56. You could see the envy and jealousy that Reed felt towards Victor, especially given their past friendship, which added layers of betrayal and devastation to the character's journey. Gruffudd explains, Julian was someone who truly loved his craft, enjoyed being on set, and embraced life to the fullest. The dynamic we shared as characters was mirrored by the wonderful atmosphere on set, as he wanted to savor every moment. Hearing the news of his passing was a significant blow. He played a crucial role in this franchise and the success of the films. Meeting him, you would never guess he could embody such a destructive character, but he had the talent to transform into a formidable force. You think of great performances in films like the original Superman, where actors like Gene Hackman brought a unique flair, and Julian had that same charisma. Both Fantastic Four and its 2007 sequel, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, grossed over $300 million. However, the planned trilogy was never realized. And just a year after Silver Surfer, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, officially began with Iron Man. As the Fantastic Four prepares for a reboot in First Steps, Gruffudd reflects on the legacy of these characters. When you think back on your experience with the Fantastic Four, what comes to mind first? The sheer excitement of it all. The journey to land the role was lengthy, involving numerous auditions, meetings, and screen tests over several months. It's understandable given that casting involves finding a group that works well together, not just one individual. Plus, there's the added pressure of casting actors for such beloved characters. The exhilaration was palpable, but then reality set in. I had to embody this iconic character. I felt a personal responsibility, especially since I'm not American, which meant I had to put in extra effort to convincingly portray this quintessential American hero. Growing up in Wales, what was your relationship with comics? Were you unfamiliar with them when the film opportunity arose? In the UK, comics existed, but they weren't focused on superheroes, so I was quite new to that world. As I delved into it, I felt a strong desire to do justice to the character and the comic books, which are cherished by many, as I've come to realize over the years. It was a real eye-opener for me. What initially attracted you to audition for the role of Reed? As an actor, it's essential to be aware of your strengths and capabilities. I didn't have the entire script at the time, but I sensed that Reed was an honorable and noble character, a bookish individual passionate about science and eager to make a positive impact on the world. He also seemed a bit naive at first, especially when he discovered his powers and the consequences they would bring. I recognized that I could embody these qualities necessary to bring him to life. The studio had already found success with X-Men, so there was an understanding that we were entering a universe that would be global in scope and hopefully lead to a franchise. The excitement surrounding that was overwhelming. It seems you were likely paired with Chris, Michael, and Jessica during some of the screen tests. How quickly did you all connect and develop the chemistry that was vital for this story about 4 individuals? At its core, it's about family, isn't it? We all understood the importance of portraying friendship, camaraderie, and even bickering. That chemistry was innate among us as actors. Each of us had our own roles, but we also recognized that we were part of a team, the Fantastic Four, and we were united. The superhero film era was just beginning, with Iron Man and the MCU still a few years away. Fantastic Four had a lighter tone compared to many superhero films of that time. Did you feel a sense of freedom arriving so early in the comic book film landscape? We had no way of knowing what the future held for Marvel or the audience's appetite for these films, especially as technology advanced. However, we felt we were staying true to the comics' essence. The comics themselves aren't as dark and violent as films like Blade and X-Men. They have a lighter, family-oriented feel. We believed we were accurately representing what Stan Lee and Jack Kirby envisioned when they created the characters. What's remarkable is that the movie still resonates today. Among them, the Fantastic Car was also a real build. We were in a car on a gimbal with wind machines, which added a layer of realism. Technology has advanced significantly in the past 20 years, but there was a lot of waiting involved while setups were completed. People often ask how we achieved the scene where I was frozen. We used white makeup for that effect, and they even sprayed me with candle wax to create a realistic look on my skin. For the stretching scenes, I had to rely on my imagination. I choreographed my movements very specifically in conjunction with certain camera angles. Often, I would stand with my arm behind my back because it was easier for the digital team to create the arm from the suit rather than erase my hand. There were some amusing moments where I thought, this is the strangest thing I've ever done. I never imagined I'd be studying this in drama school. But you have to tap into your imagination and dig deep, envisioning your arm stretching across the street to grab something. It was a lot of fun, albeit exhausting in the best way. Like being a child again. Okay, it's playtime now, and you just have to go for it. I learned while preparing for this that there's a deleted scene where Reed briefly transforms into Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to impress Sue. Were you disappointed that it didn't make the final cut? I'm not sure why that scene didn't make it into the film. Paying tribute to the incredible Hugh Jackman was a thrill for me because I admire him as an actor and love his portrayal of Wolverine. I'm glad that the scene exists somewhere. It was a reshoot, and I was in Vancouver on a soundstage while Jessica was in New York, so we weren't actually together, but we looked perfectly in sync. Technically, you can say you've played both Mr. Fantastic and Wolverine. That's a fun trivia question for a pub quiz. The sequel was released just 2 years after Fantastic Four, but I believe you were all signed on for a third film that never materialized. Were you surprised that you didn't get the opportunity to complete the planned trilogy? The mindset was that we would be doing 3 films, and I believe the second movie was just as successful and enjoyable for fans as the first. I particularly loved working with Doug Jones, who portrayed the Silver Surfer. He's an incredible artist and a master of movement. If you want to see someone truly bring a character to life physically, he's unmatched. There was definitely momentum, and the plan was for 3 movies, but those decisions are beyond my control. How did you feel after your time as Reed came to an end? You've previously mentioned losing some confidence and even seeking therapy. Why do you think that grieving process was so challenging? As an actor, you often grieve every role you've played, and this was no exception. This character was a significant milestone in my career, and after 2 films over several years, Reed became a part of me. The grieving process stems from the joy of playing the character and the realization that you won't get to portray them again. Your Fantastic Four was back in the spotlight last year when Chris Evans reprised his role as Johnny Storm in Deadpool Wolverine. Did that bring you any joy or satisfaction? The film served as a tribute to that era of 20th Century Fox Marvel projects. I felt a warm sense of nostalgia because it reminded me of the fun we had. I absolutely loved working with Chris. We shared so many laughs on set, almost like giddy teenagers. It was a true delight to see Chris return as Johnny, and that sequence in the film was iconic. I was laughing out loud and filled with joy. It was a beautiful homage to what Chris brought to the role. While he is beloved as Captain America, he's also cherished as Johnny Storm. When Chris was first cast as Captain America, did you think, wait, how can you be Johnny Storm and Captain America? It made sense to me. I can imagine some comic fans were taken aback by it. However, when you think about it, he was absolutely perfect for the role, and he played it flawlessly. Physically, Chris embodied Captain America, and he truly represented that character. When you watched the movie, you thought, yep, that's why he was cast. As the first big-screen Mr. Fantastic, how do you view the other versions? Do you find I take immense pride in being part of such a beloved franchise that has profoundly impacted my life? The people I've met over the years and their passion for the film and how it has affected them in meaningful ways is something I can't fully express. I feel a great sense of pride in having represented a character that is so cherished, in a franchise that is so beloved, and in comics that hold a special place in many hearts. Just the other day, while walking my dog, 2 young men drove by, stopped, and reversed to say, "Hey, are you Rubber Man?" I replied, "Yes, I'm Mr. Fantastic." Their excitement was palpable, and they drove off thrilled. This experience not only affects the fans, but also enriches my life. It can pull you out of whatever state of mind you're in and remind you that you're part of something beautiful and much larger than yourself. I'm excited that the comic and franchise continue to thrive. There were rumors about your involvement in the Fantastic Four First Steps. Has Marvel reached out to you regarding a potential return? I'm not part of the new movie. Fans seem convinced that I'll appear in some aspect of this universe that hasn't been written or filmed yet. The concept of characters showing up has been introduced, like Chris in Deadpool, or Mr. Fantastic appearing as John Krasinski at one point. So, no, I haven't been approached to reprise my role as Mr. Fantastic, but you never know.